The butter knife was dull, but desperation made Emma's fingers strong. She pressed the edge into the mahogany table, dragging it in short, deliberate strokes, while her fiancé's voice droned on across from her. S. Her hand trembled. The restaurant was too bright, too expensive, too full of people who would never believe what was happening right in front of them. Oh, are you even listening to me? Marcus's voice cut through her concentration, sharp as broken glass. His smile never wavered, that practiced political smile he'd perfected over the past year, the one that made him look like a successful real estate developer instead of what he really was. Emma's eyes flickered up just for a second, long enough to see that smile, long enough to feel her stomach turn. Of course, she whispered. Her voice sounded small. When had she started sounding so small? She glanced around the restaurant, this exclusive Italian place Marcus had chosen. White tablecloths, crystal chandeliers, a pianist in the corner playing something soft and meaningless. At the table directly across from them, a man sat alone. Dark suit, darker eyes. He'd been watching her for the past 10 minutes, and she didn't know if that terrified her or gave her the first spark of hope she'd felt in months. S. She finished the last letter, her fingernail catching in the groove she'd carved. "We're leaving in 3 days," Marcus said, leaning forward. To anyone watching, it would look intimate, romantic even. "My colleague in Romania has everything arranged. The paperwork, the account transfers, everything. You'll love it there, Emma. A fresh start for both of us." A fresh start. That's what he'd called it when he first told her. As if she had a choice. As if the past 6 months hadn't been him slowly, methodically cutting her off from everyone she knew. Her sister in California who stopped answering her calls after Marcus told her Emma didn't want contact anymore. Her best friend from college who thought Emma was angry with her because of the texts Marcus sent from Emma's phone. Her job at the nonprofit that she'd loved, that she'd quit because Marcus said a wife shouldn't work, that they didn't need the money, that she should focus on their future together. Their future. In Romania, where she didn't speak the language, where she wouldn't know a single person. Where Marcus's business associates were waiting. She'd found the emails 3 weeks ago. Not meant for her eyes, but Marcus had been careless, left his laptop open while he was in the shower. She'd only meant to check the weather. Instead, she found chains of messages that made her blood run cold. Business deals that weren't about real estate at all. Women's names with prices next to them. Photographs she couldn't unsee. And her own name, with a different price, discussed like she was inventory. The realization had crashed over her like ice water. She wasn't his fiancée. She was his product. She'd tried to run, that same day. Made it as far as the train station before Marcus's driver found her. Marcus had been so calm when they brought her back. He'd taken her phone, her laptop, her credit cards. He'd smiled that terrible smile and told her he understood, that planning a wedding was stressful, that she was just overwhelmed. Then he'd locked her in their penthouse apartment with a security guard stationed outside. For 3 weeks, she'd been a prisoner in a gilded cage. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration dinner. Their last evening in the States before they flew out. Marcus had even let her pick the restaurant, which was how she'd ended up here, at Valentino's. She'd chosen it because she'd read somewhere that the owner had mob connections, that this place was where certain people in the city did their business. It was a desperate, half-formed plan. Maybe if she caused a scene, if she screamed or ran, maybe Marcus wouldn't make a scene in front of the kind of men who valued discretion. Maybe she'd have a chance. But when they'd arrived, Marcus had his hand clamped on her elbow. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough that she understood. And his driver was still outside. And she realized that screaming wouldn't save her. These men, if they were even here, wouldn't care about one more woman in trouble. So she'd carved SOS into the table instead. A pathetic, childish cry for help that no one would even notice. Except the man across from them had noticed. He was still watching her. Not obviously, he appeared focused on his phone, on his wine, on the menu in front of him. But every time Emma glanced up, his eyes were there. Dark, intense, calculating. He was younger than she'd expected from someone sitting alone in a place like this, maybe late 30s. Black hair swept back from a face that was all sharp angles and harder edges. The kind of face that belonged on old Roman coins. Handsome in a way that had nothing to do with friendliness and everything to do with power. There was something about the set of his shoulders, the way the staff moved around his table with a kind of reverent wariness, that told Emma he was important. Maybe even dangerous. Her fingers moved to the carved letters in the table, tracing them one more time. The man's gaze followed her movement. For just a second, his expression changed. Something flickered in those dark eyes. Recognition, maybe, or understanding. Then it was gone, replaced by that same neutral observation. Emma! Marcus's hand shot across the table, gripping her wrist. His thumb pressed into the delicate bones there, just shy of painful. His voice stayed pleasant. You're not eating. Don't you like the salmon? It's lovely, she managed. Her untouched plate sat between them like an accusation. You need to eat, Marcus said, still smiling. Still hurting her. You're getting too thin. That won't do at all. She understood what he meant. The women in those emails, the ones with prices next to their names, they all looked healthy. Well fed. Marcus needed her to look the part. Her eyes burned, but she wouldn't cry. Not here. Not in front of all these people who couldn't see, who wouldn't see what was happening. The man at the other table stood up. Emma's breath caught. He was tall, well over 6 feet, and he moved with the kind of fluid grace that suggested violence lived just beneath his expensive suit. He said something to the waiter who'd appeared at his elbow, and the waiter's face went pale. Then the man started walking. Toward them. Emma's heart hammered against her ribs. Marcus hadn't noticed yet, too focused on cutting his steak into precise, even pieces. The control freak in him couldn't even let a meal be casual. The man stopped at their table. Up close, he was even more imposing. And those eyes, they weren't just dark, they were pitch black, like looking into a well with no bottom. Excuse me, he said. His voice was low, accented with something European that Emma couldn't quite place. Italian, maybe, but refined. I apologize for the interruption, but I believe you're sitting at my table. Marcus looked up, his smile cooling. I'm sorry, what? This table. The man gestured to the mahogany surface between them, to the carved SOS that Emma's butter knife had left behind. It's reserved, has been for years. A family tradition. His eyes never left Marcus's face, but Emma felt seen anyway. Truly seen, for the first time in months. That's ridiculous, Marcus said, his voice tight. We were seated by the host. There's been no mention of any reservation. Nevertheless. The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. I'm sure Giovanni can find you another table, an even better one. The management here knows I don't like to be disappointed. Something in his tone made the threat clear. This wasn't a request. Marcus's face reddened. Emma recognized that color. She'd learned to fear it over the past months. It meant his control was slipping, meant someone had challenged him, meant that later, in private, there would be consequences. But they weren't in private. They were in the middle of Valentino's, and this stranger was standing over them like a storm about to break, and Emma felt something shift in her chest. Something that might have been hope. And who exactly are you? Marcus demanded. Dante Moretti. The name dropped like a stone into still water. Even Emma, isolated as she'd been, recognized it. Everyone in the city knew that name. The Moretti family owned half the waterfront, ran businesses that ranged from legitimate to decidedly not, and generally operated in the shadows where the law couldn't quite reach them. She was looking at a Mafia boss. Marcus knew it too. She saw the recognition flash across his face, followed by calculation. He was wondering if he could push back, if his own connections would protect him, if making a scene would cost him more than backing down. Emma held her breath. Of course, Marcus finally said, standing abruptly. His hand found Emma's arm again, pulling her up. We'd be happy to move. No trouble at all. Actually, Dante Moretti said, and his hand moved, not fast, not aggressive, but with absolute certainty, to rest on the back of Emma's chair. Not touching her, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him. The lady can stay. I find myself in need of dinner company. You understand? It wasn't a question. Marcus's grip on Emma's arm tightened until she gasped. This is my fiancé. Is she? Dante's eyes finally moved to Emma. The intensity of that gaze made her feel stripped bare, like he could see every bruise Marcus had been careful not to leave, every scream she'd swallowed down, every desperate prayer she'd whispered into her pillow. Is that true, Bella? Are you his fiancé? The question hung in the air between them. Emma could feel Marcus's fingers digging into her skin, could smell his cologne mixed with the faint scent of his sweat. He was afraid, she realized, afraid of this man, afraid of losing control. This was her moment, her only chance. No, she whispered, then louder. No! Marcus's hand fell away as if she'd burned him. Dante Moretti smiled, and it was nothing like Marcus's smiles. This one was all teeth and promise, the kind of smile wolves gave before they lunged. Then please, Dante said, pulling out Emma's chair in a gesture that was more command than courtesy. Sit. We have much to discuss. Emma sat. She didn't look at Marcus as he stood there, didn't watch as Dante gestured to someone across the restaurant, more men in dark suits who appeared like shadows coming to life. They surrounded Marcus, not touching, but making it clear that his presence was no longer welcome. You're making a mistake, Marcus said, his voice rising. Finally, the mask was cracking. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I have connections. Important people. She's lying. She's mentally unstable. I have documentation. I'm sure you do, Dante said mildly. He'd taken the seat across from Emma, exactly where Marcus had been moments before. My associate here will take your information. We'll be in touch. One of the shadow men produced a business card. Marcus snatched it, and Emma could see his hand shaking. Good. Let him be afraid for once. Let him feel a fraction of what he'd made her feel. This isn't over, Marcus said, looking directly at Emma. The threat in his eyes was unmistakable. Yes, Dante said softly. It is. And then Marcus was being escorted out. Actually escorted, by two men who made it clear that resistance would be unwise. Emma watched him go, watched him disappear through the restaurant doors, and felt something inside her chest that had been clenched tight for months finally start to loosen. Breathe, Dante said. She realized she'd been holding her breath. It came out in a rush, almost a sob. I don't, she started, then stopped. What was there to say? Thank you? Help me? Don't let him come back? Dante reached across the table and traced the carved letters with one long finger. SOS. Very resourceful, he said. Although you've ruined a very expensive table. I'll pay for it. The words came automatically, even though she had no money, no credit cards, nothing but the clothes on her back. I own the restaurant, Dante said, and the building, and 3 blocks in every direction. You're not paying for anything. He leaned back in his chair, studying her with that unsettling intensity. Tell me what's happening. Start from the beginning. So she did. The words tumbled out, halting at first, then faster, then in a rush that she couldn't control even if she wanted to. She told him about Marcus, about the emails, about the apartment and the guard, and the upcoming trip to Romania. She told him about her sister, her best friend, her job, all the pieces of her life that Marcus had systematically stripped away. She told him about being too ashamed to admit what was happening, about not realizing until it was too late that she was in a trap. Dante listened without interrupting. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes went very cold and very dangerous. When she finished, her throat was raw. A waiter had materialized at some point with fresh wine, and Emma drank without tasting it. Romania, Dante said finally. That's Konstantin Volkov's territory. Very unpleasant man. Trafficking, mostly. Women and children. He said it matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. Emma's stomach turned. You know about this? About what happens there? I know many things. Dante's finger was still tracing the SOS in the table, around and around, hypnotic. I know that Marcus Chen is a small-time operator trying to move up in the world. I know he's burned most of his local connections with bad deals and worse judgment. I know Volkov would have taken one look at you and decided you were worth keeping for himself rather than selling you on. The casual way he said it made Emma want to vomit. And you do nothing? You just let this happen? I didn't say that. Dante's eyes met hers. There are rules, even in this world. Territories. Agreements. What Volkov does in Romania is his business. What happens in my city is mine. Your city? Yes. No hesitation, no false modesty. Just fact. Emma laughed, and it came out bitter. So you're a mobster with ethics. How noble. No, Dante said. I'm a mobster with standards. Very different thing. He finished his wine and set the glass down with a soft click. I don't traffic women. I don't sell children. I don't work with people who do. These are not moral positions, Bella. They're business decisions. Those trades bring too much attention, too much law enforcement, too many variables that can't be controlled. They're messy. So you'll help me because it's good business? I'll help you because Marcus Chen sat at my table and thought he could conduct his disgusting little transaction under my roof. Dante's voice was still calm, but there was steel beneath it. I'll help you, because he made me complicit by bringing you here, and I'll help you, because you were brave enough to carve a message in my table. Emma's eyes burned again, but this time she let the tears come. I don't have anything to offer you. No money, no information, nothing that would make this worth your time. Dante stood, and before Emma could react, he was beside her chair. He crouched down so they were eye level, and reached out to trace the line of her jaw with one finger. The touch was gentle, almost reverent, and it made Emma's breath catch for entirely different reasons than fear. You asked for help, Dante said quietly. In my restaurant, at my table. That makes you mine to protect. Do you understand? Emma stared at him. This close, she could see that his eyes weren't pure black. There were flecks of gold around the pupils, like embers in coal. His cologne was subtle, expensive, nothing like Marcus's overpowering designer sense. And the way he was looking at her made her feel something she hadn't felt in so long she'd almost forgotten what it was called. Safe. I don't understand any of this, she whispered. You don't need to. Dante stood, offering her his hand. Come. We're leaving. Where? Somewhere Marcus Chen will never find you. Somewhere you can breathe without looking over your shoulder. Somewhere you can decide what happens next. His hand stayed extended, patient. Trust me, Emma. She didn't know why she believed him. This man was dangerous, maybe more dangerous than Marcus, if the stories about the Moretti family were true. He'd admitted to being a criminal. He'd talked about trafficking and territory like they were stock portfolios. By any reasonable standard, going with him was jumping from the frying pan into the fire, but there was something in his eyes when he looked at her. Something that saw her as a person, not a possession. Something that had been horrified by Marcus's plans in a way that went beyond business interests. Emma took his hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and strong, and he pulled her to her feet. Good, he said. Now stay close to me. We're going to walk out of here, and you're not going to look back. Understand? She nodded. They moved through the restaurant together, and Emma felt every eye turn to watch them. The other diners, the staff, even the pianist. Everyone knew something significant was happening. Dante kept his hand on the small of her back, proprietary but not possessive, and Emma found herself leaning into that touch. Outside, a car was waiting. Black, sleek, expensive in a way that made Marcus's leased BMW look like a toy. The driver held the door open, and Dante handed Emma in before sliding in beside her. As the car pulled away from the curb, Emma finally looked back. Through the restaurant window, she could see their abandoned table, the mahogany surface with its carved cry for help. Her prison for the past hour that had somehow become her salvation. "What happens now?" she asked. Dante didn't answer immediately. He was looking at his phone, typing something rapidly. Then he pocketed it and turned to her. "Now? Now Marcus Chen learns what it means to threaten something under my protection. Now his connections in Romania get a very clear message about who you belong to. Now you sleep somewhere safe and wake up tomorrow without fear. And after that? After that, we see..." His hand found hers in the darkness of the car. "You're free, Emma. For the first time in months, you're actually free. What you do with that freedom is entirely up to you." She wanted to believe him, wanted to trust that this wasn't just a different cage with a more comfortable interior. But freedom was a foreign concept after so long without it. "I don't even know where we're going," she said. "My home," Dante replied. "It's secure, guarded. Marcus won't get within a mile of it. Your home." Emma turned to look at him, at this stranger who'd saved her life without even knowing her name until an hour ago. "Why would you take me to your home? Why not a hotel, or..." Hotels can be compromised, bought, infiltrated. Dante's thumb traced circles on the back of her hand, absent and soothing. "My home cannot. You'll stay there until this is resolved. Until Marcus is dealt with and you're truly safe." "Dealt with," Emma repeated. "What does that mean?" Dante's smile in the darkness was all sharp edges. "It means he'll never bother you again. Ever. I promise you that." The car wound through the city streets, moving deeper into an area Emma recognized as one of the old neighborhoods. The ones where families had lived for generations, where the houses were mansions hidden behind walls and gates, where old money and older secrets lived side by side. They pulled up to iron gates that opened automatically. Beyond them, a driveway led to a house that made Emma's breath catch. It wasn't showy, not in the way Marcus's penthouse had been all glass and chrome and aggressive modernity. This was elegant, timeless. A stone structure that looked like it had been transplanted from the Italian countryside, surrounded by manicured gardens that glowed in the evening light. "This is yours?" she asked. "My family's," Dante said. "For 3 generations now." The driver opened the door, and Dante helped Emma out. Her legs were shaky, adrenaline finally draining from her system and leaving her weak. She stumbled, and Dante's arm went around her waist, steady and sure. "Easy," he murmured. "You're safe now. I've got you." Inside, the house was warm and lived in despite its grandeur. Hardwood floors, antique furniture, paintings that Emma suspected were worth more than she'd ever earn. A woman appeared from a side hallway, older, gray-haired, with kind eyes and flour on her apron. "Dante," she said, then paused when she saw Emma. Her expression softened immediately. "Oh, Tesoro, you look exhausted." "This is Maria," Dante said. "She's been with my family since I was a boy." "Maria, this is Emma. She'll be staying with us for a while. She needs somewhere safe." Maria asked no questions. She simply nodded and reached for Emma's hand. "Come, Kara. Let's get you settled. Are you hungry? Thirsty? When did you last eat?" Emma couldn't remember. The salmon at the restaurant sat in her stomach like a stone she'd never actually swallowed. "I'll bring something light," Maria decided. "And tea. Tea helps everything." She turned to Dante. "The guest suite?" "The east wing," Dante said. "Near my rooms." Something passed between them. Some unspoken communication that Emma was too tired to decipher. Maria nodded and began leading Emma toward a sweeping staircase. Emma looked back. Dante was standing in the foyer, phone already back in his hand, his expression gone hard and focused. He looked every inch the dangerous man the stories claimed him to be. But when his eyes met hers, they softened just slightly. "Sleep," he said. "We'll talk in the morning." The guest suite was bigger than Emma's entire apartment had been before Marcus. Bedroom, sitting room, bathroom, with a tub that could fit 3 people. Everything was done in soft blues and creams, peaceful and expensive. Maria showed her where everything was, promised to bring food within the hour, and tactfully ignored the way Emma's hands shook when she tried to take off her jacket. "He's a good man," Maria said quietly, pausing at the door. "My Dante. Complicated, yes. Dangerous, certainly. But good, in the ways that matter. You're safe here, Emma. I promise you that." Then she was gone, and Emma was alone for the first time in months. Truly alone, not locked in a room with a guard outside. Not watched and monitored and controlled. Just alone. She walked to the window. The view looked out over the gardens, lit now with soft landscape lighting. Beyond the walls, she could see the city lights spreading out like stars brought down to earth. Somewhere out there, Marcus was probably furious. Planning. Scheming. Calling in whatever favors he thought he had. But here, in this room, in this house, Emma felt something she'd almost forgotten. She felt like a person again. The tears came then, real and raw and painful. She slid down to sit on the floor beneath the window and cried for everything she'd lost, everything she'd almost become, and everything she still might have the chance to be. She didn't hear the door open, didn't realize Dante was there until his hand touched her shoulder, gentle and grounding. "Emma?" She looked up at him through her tears. He'd taken off his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves. Somehow that made him look even more dangerous, like he was ready to get his hands dirty. "I'm sorry," she managed. Don't apologize," Dante said. He sat down beside her on the floor. This powerful man in his expensive clothes sitting on the carpet like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You've been through hell. Crying is the least of what you're entitled to." "I should be grateful," Emma said. "I should be thanking you, not falling apart." "You should be feeling whatever you need to feel." His hand moved to cover hers where it lay on her knee. "There's no should about it. You're allowed to break down, Emma. You're allowed to be angry, scared, relieved, all of it." She looked at their hands. His was larger, scarred across the knuckles, with calluses that spoke of violence and work. Hers was pale and smooth, and had carved SOS into a table less than 2 hours ago. "Why are you being so kind to me?" she whispered. "You don't know me. I'm no one." "You're not no one," Dante's voice was firm. "You're a woman who asked for help. That makes you someone I care about. But she gestured vaguely, trying to encompass everything he was. "You're a criminal, a gangster. People are afraid of you. Yes, that doesn't bother you? Should it?" Dante tilted his head, studying her. "I am what I am, Emma. I don't pretend to be a good man. I've done things that would horrify you. I'll probably do more. But within my world, within my territory, there are rules. And one of those rules is that women don't get trafficked. They don't get sold or traded or treated like inventory. Not in my city. Not while I'm alive to prevent it. That's the line you won't cross." "One of many," Dante said. "I'm not a hero, Bella. Don't make me into one. But I'm also not Marcus Chen. I won't ever be Marcus Chen." Emma believed him. Maybe she was naive. Maybe she was still in shock. Maybe she was just so desperate for someone to save her that she'd convinced herself this man was trustworthy. But sitting there on the floor of his guest room, his hand covering hers, she believed him. "What happens now?" she asked. Really. Not the pretty version, the real one. Dante considered for a moment. "The real version? I make calls." I let it be known that you're under my protection. Marcus will try to push back. He's invested too much to give up easily, but he's also smart enough to know that fighting me is a losing proposition. He'll retreat, probably try to salvage his deal with Volkov using someone else. My people will make sure he understands that you're off limits permanently. And if he doesn't care, if he comes after me anyway, then I'll kill him. Dante said it so simply, so matter-of-factly, that for a moment Emma thought she'd misheard. But his eyes held hers, steady and honest. I don't say that to frighten you. I say it so you understand how serious I am. No one touches what's mine, Emma. No one. I'm not yours, Emma said, but her voice was uncertain. Aren't you? Dante's thumb traced across her knuckles, a touch so gentle it belied the violence in his words. You carved SOS at my table. You asked for my help. You took my hand and got in my car. You're in my home right now. That makes you mine, whether you've admitted it to yourself yet or not. Emma's heart was racing again, but not from fear this time. That's insane. You can't just claim someone. I can, Dante said. And I do. I'm claiming you, Emma. I'm putting my protection around you. My name. My reputation. As far as this city is concerned, you belong to me now. He leaned closer, and Emma could smell him, could feel the heat of him. The question is whether you're going to fight that, or accept it. She should fight it. Should stand up and demand to be taken somewhere else, anywhere else. Should insist on her independence, on making her own way, on not trading one powerful man for another. But Dante wasn't Marcus. Everything in Emma's battered instincts was screaming that at her. Marcus had controlled through fear and isolation. Dante was offering protection, safety, choice. I don't understand you, she whispered. You don't have to. Not yet. Dante stood, offering his hand again, just like he had in the restaurant. But you will. Come. Maria's brought food, and you need to eat. Then sleep. Tomorrow you can start figuring out what you want your life to look like. Emma took his hand and let him pull her to her feet. She followed him to the sitting room, where Maria had indeed left a tray. Soup, bread, fruit, tea. Simple food that her traumatized stomach could handle. Dante sat with her while she ate, not hovering, but present. He told her about the house, about his family, about Maria, and how she'd practically raised him after his mother died. He made her laugh with a story about his younger sister and a disastrous attempt at cooking. He made her feel almost normal, like this was just dinner with a friend and not the strangest, most surreal night of her entire life. When she'd eaten what she could, Dante stood. I'll let you rest. Lock the door if it makes you feel better, though I promise you're safe here. My room is down the hall, third door on the left. If you need anything, anything at all, find me. He moved toward the door, and Emma felt a surge of panic at the thought of being alone again. Dante? He turned, patient. Thank you, she said, for seeing the message, for helping me, for all of this. His smile was soft, almost sad. Thank you for being brave enough to carve it in the first place. Sleep well, Emma. Then he was gone, and Emma was alone with her thoughts, and her fears, and the strange, fragile hope blooming in her chest. She did lock the door. Then she took the longest shower of her life, letting the hot water wash away the feeling of Marcus's hands on her arm, his presence at her side, his plans for her future. She put on the pajamas Maria had left, expensive silk that felt like sin against her skin, and climbed into the enormous bed. Sleep should have been impossible. She should have been lying awake, analyzing every word Dante had said, questioning every decision she'd made. But exhaustion claimed her the moment her head hit the pillow, dragging her down into dreamless black. She woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows, and a moment of pure panic before she remembered where she was. Dante's house. Safe. Free. There was a note on the bedside table in elegant handwriting. Good morning. Come downstairs when you're ready. There's breakfast and coffee and news. D. Emma dressed in the clothes someone had left for her, jeans and a soft sweater that fit perfectly, which should have been creepy but somehow wasn't, and made her way downstairs. She found Dante in what appeared to be a study. Desk, bookshelves, comfortable chairs, and him in the middle of it all with a phone pressed to his ear. He gestured for her to sit, and she perched on one of the chairs, taking in the controlled intensity of his conversation. He was speaking Italian, rapid fire and authoritative. Emma caught a few words she recognized from her high school language classes. Understand. Immediately. Not acceptable. Then he switched to English, so sudden and smooth it made her head spin. I don't care what Volkov thinks he was promised, Dante said coldly. The deal is dead. Marcus Chen is toxic. Anyone who does business with him after today does so against my explicit wishes. Is that clear? A pause. Good. Spread the word. He hung up and looked at Emma. Good morning. Was that about Marcus? Yes. Dante set his phone down. I've spent the morning making calls. Marcus has been blacklisted. No one in this city will work with him, and Volkov has been informed that the woman Marcus promised him is off the market permanently. Just like that? Just like that. Dante stood and came around the desk. In the morning light, he looked tired. Like he'd been up all night making those calls, protecting her. Marcus Chen is finished in this city, Emma. He'll either leave or he'll be forced to leave. Either way, he's not your problem anymore. Emma felt something crack open in her chest. Relief so overwhelming it was almost painful. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. Dante leaned against the desk, arms crossed. We need to talk about what comes next. Her stomach dropped. Here it was. The price. The expectation. The thing he'd want in return for saving her. Okay, she said carefully. What do you want? Dante studied her for a long moment. I want you to stay here. For a while, at least. Until we're certain Marcus has gotten the message and moved on. Until you've had time to recover, to figure out what you want. And then? And then you decide. You can stay if you want to. You can leave if that's what makes you happy. You can let me help you reconnect with your sister, your friend, rebuild your life, whatever you need. Emma stared at him. That's it? You just want me to stay here? There's no catch? No catch. I don't believe you. The words came out harsh, suspicious. No one does something like this without wanting something in return. Dante's expression didn't change. I want something, he admitted. I want to know you're safe. I want to see you smile without fear behind it. I want to watch you remember how to be yourself instead of what Marcus tried to make you. He paused. And yes, I want you here. In my house, where I can see you every day. Is that what you wanted to hear? Emma's breath caught. Why? Because last night in the restaurant, I looked across the room and saw a woman carving a message into my table. A desperate, brilliant, brave message asking for help. And something in me responded to that. Dante pushed off from the desk and crossed to her chair, crouching down to her level again. I felt protective, possessive. Like you were already mine before we'd even spoken. I don't expect you to understand that. I barely understand it myself. That's insane, Emma whispered, but she couldn't look away from him. Probably, Dante agreed. But it's the truth. So yes, there's something I want. I want a chance, Emma. A chance to show you that not every man is Marcus. A chance to earn your trust. A chance to see where this, he gestured between them, whatever this is, might go. I can't, Emma said. Her heart was pounding. I can't just jump from one relationship to another. I can't trust my own judgment anymore. How do I know you're not just another version of Marcus? You don't. Dante's honesty was brutal. You can't know. Not yet. That's why I'm asking you to stay. Give yourself time. Get to know me. See how I treat you when you're not running for your life. See how my family treats you. See if maybe, eventually, you might want to take that chance. He touched her face. so gentle. I'm not asking for forever, Bella. Just for now. Emma closed her eyes. This was crazy. All of it was crazy. She'd known this man for less than 24 hours. He was a criminal, a mobster, someone who, by his own admission, had done terrible things. Getting involved with him was probably the worst decision she could possibly make. But he'd seen her message. He'd helped her. He'd given her safety without asking for anything in return. And the way he looked at her made her feel seen in a way Marcus never had. Never would have. Okay, she heard herself say. Okay, I'll stay. For now. Dante's smile was brilliant. Good. He stood, offering his hand yet again. Come. Maria's made enough breakfast to feed an army, and if we don't eat it, she'll be offended. The next few days passed in a blur of strange domesticity. Emma had expected to feel like a prisoner, but instead she felt like a guest. Maria treated her with warm affection. Dante's younger sister Sophia came to visit and immediately declared Emma her new best friend. The guards she'd feared would be her jailers turned out to be respectful and kind, treating her like someone to be protected rather than controlled. And Dante. Dante was everywhere and nowhere. He gave her space but always seemed to be nearby when she needed him. He didn't push, didn't demand, didn't expect anything beyond her presence. They had breakfast together, dinner, long conversations in his study about books and music and nothing at all. He made her laugh. He made her think. He made her remember what it felt like to be herself. On the fourth day, Emma woke to find Dante in the garden, standing in the morning light with his phone pressed to his ear. She watched him from the window, this dangerous man who'd saved her, and felt something shift in her chest. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was possibility. She went downstairs and out into the garden. Dante ended his call when he saw her approaching. Good morning, he said. Morning. Emma stopped in front of him, suddenly uncertain. I wanted to thank you for everything. I know I keep saying that, but... Emma. Dante touched her chin, tilting her face up to his. You don't owe me thanks. Or anything else. I know, she said. That's why I want to give it to you. She kissed him. Quick, soft, barely a brush of lips. But it was her choice. Her decision. Her claiming him just as much as he'd claimed her. When she pulled back, Dante's eyes had gone dark with something that made her pulse race. Emma, he said, voice rough, you should be careful. Why? Because I have very little self-control where you're concerned. His hand cupped her face. I've been trying to be patient, trying to give you space. But if you kiss me like that, I'm going to want more. Maybe I want that too, Emma whispered. Dante's control snapped. He kissed her properly this time, deep and claiming, and everything that first tentative brush of lips hadn't been. His hands tangled in her hair, her hands fisted in his shirt. And for the first time since Marcus had shown her those emails, since her world had collapsed and reformed into something terrifying, Emma felt truly, completely alive. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. Stay, he said. Not just for now. Stay with me, Emma. Let me give you the life you deserve. Let me show you what it means to be cherished instead of controlled. That's a big ask, Emma managed. Her lips felt swollen. Her heart was racing. I know. Dante pulled back just enough to meet her eyes. I'm a patient man when I need to be. I'll wait as long as it takes. But I want you to know what I'm offering. I'm offering you everything, Bella. My protection, my name, my heart. Everything. Emma looked at this man who'd saved her life. This complicated, dangerous, impossibly gentle man who'd seen her cry for help and responded without hesitation. I'm broken, she said. Marcus broke me. I don't know if I can be what you need. You're not broken, Dante said fiercely. You're healing. and I don't need you to be anything except exactly who you are. His hands framed her face. Whatever Marcus made you feel, whatever he made you think about yourself, it was a lie. You're strong, Emma. Strong enough to survive him. Strong enough to carve SOS into a table and trust a stranger to save you. Strong enough to start over. Tears spilled down Emma's cheeks, but they were good tears this time. Clean tears. Healing tears. I want to try, she whispered. I want to try this. With you. I'm scared, and I don't trust myself yet, but I want to try. Dante's smile was gentle. Then try. That's all I'm asking. One day at a time, Emma. We'll figure it out together. He kissed her again, softer this time. A promise, instead of a claim. And Emma kissed him back, tasting possibility and safety, and the first stirrings of something that might, eventually, become love. When they finally made it back inside, Maria took one look at them and smiled. About time, she said, utterly unimpressed with her boss's attempt at dignity. Now come eat. And Dante, your sister called. She wants to take Emma shopping. Absolutely not, Dante said. Sophia plus shopping equals bankruptcy. I'll go, Emma said, surprising herself. If that's okay? Dante looked at her, and something in his expression softened. Of course it's okay. You don't need my permission, Emma. You're free to go wherever you want, do whatever you want. And she realized he meant it. The door wasn't locked. The guards weren't there to keep her in. She could walk out right now, and he'd let her go. But she didn't want to. 3 months later, Emma stood in Dante's study and looked at the contract in front of her. You're sure? Dante asked from behind her. I'm sure. Emma signed her name at the bottom. It made it official. She was back in school, pursuing the degree in social work she'd abandoned years ago. Dante had arranged everything. Tuition, housing, stipend. Everything she needed to rebuild her life. Thank you, she said, turning to face him. Stop thanking me. Dante pulled her close. This is what partners do. They support each other. Partners. That's what they'd become, slowly but surely. Emma still had nightmares sometimes, still flinched at loud noises, still caught herself looking over her shoulder. But Dante was patient. He held her through the panic attacks. He let her process at her own speed. He never pushed, never demanded, never made her feel like she owed him anything beyond her presence. And gradually, day by day, Emma had fallen in love with him. I have something for you, Dante said. Another surprise? Emma shook her head. You spoil me. I intend to spoil you for the rest of your life, so you'd better get used to it. Dante pulled a small box from his pocket. This isn't what you think. Emma's heart stopped. Dante. It's not a ring, he said quickly. Not yet. When I propose, and I will propose, make no mistake, it's going to be perfect. Romantic. Something you'll want to tell our children about someday. He opened the box. Inside was a key. This is a key to your own apartment. Downtown, near the university. Safe, secure, completely yours. Emma stared at him. I don't understand. You've been living in my house for 3 months, Dante said. And while I've loved every second of it, I want you to know that you have choices. You can move into this apartment, have your own space, your own life. No guards, no restrictions. Just you living freely. He paused. Or you can stay here. With me. Because you want to. Not because you feel obligated or trapped. Emma took the key. Felt the weight of it. The choice it represented. Then she put it back in the box and closed it. I'm staying, she said. Emma, I'm staying because I want to. Because I love you. Because this house feels more like home than anywhere else I've ever lived. She touched his face. Because you saw my message and saved my life. And every day since then you've been giving me reasons to stay. Dante's eyes closed. You love me. I love you, Emma confirmed. Is that okay? He laughed, and it was a sound of pure joy. "Is it okay?" "Emma, I've been in love with you since I saw you carving SOS into my table. I've just been waiting for you to catch up." He kissed her, and Emma kissed him back, putting everything she felt into it. Love, gratitude, trust, hope. All the things Marcus had tried to take from her, and Dante had helped her reclaim. When they broke apart, Dante was smiling. "So you'll stay." "I'll stay," Emma agreed. "But I am taking that key. It's nice to know it's there." "Good." Dante tucked the box into her hand. "Keep it. Always know you have choices, Emma. That's important to me." "I know." She'd learned that about him. He was possessive, protective, sometimes overbearingly so. But he never tried to control her. Never tried to make her choices for her. He was everything Marcus wasn't. 6 months after that, Dante took Emma back to Valentino's. The same restaurant, the same table, even the same carved SOS still visible in the mahogany surface. "Why did you bring me here?" Emma asked as they sat down. "Because this is where it started," Dante said. "This is where I first saw you, where you asked for help, where everything changed." He reached across the table and traced the carved letters. "Do you remember what I said that night? About you being mine? You said I belonged to you the moment I carved this message." "I did, and I meant it." Dante's eyes held hers. "But I want to make it official." He pulled out a different box. This one, Emma recognized. "Dante." "Marry me," he said. No preamble, no elaborate speech. Just those 2 words in a ring that caught the light like captured stars. "Marry me, and let me spend the rest of my life making sure you never have to carve SOS again. Marry me, and let me give you the world. Marry me because I love you more than I thought possible, and because you love me back despite everything I am." Emma looked at the ring, looked at him, looked at the table where she'd written her desperate plea for salvation. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you." Dante slipped the ring on her finger, and then he was around the table, pulling her into his arms, kissing her like she was his whole world. Because she was. And he was hers. The restaurant applauded. Emma didn't care. She just held on to Dante and thought about how 3 months ago she'd been sitting in this exact spot, trapped and terrified, and certain she was out of options. Now she was here again, but everything was different. She was free. She was loved. She was safe. And it had all started with 3 letters carved into a table. SOS. A cry for help that had become the beginning of everything. Later, when they were back at the house, their house now, Emma thought with quiet joy, Dante found her standing by the window in the bedroom, looking out at the gardens. "Regrets?" he asked softly. "None?" Emma turned to him. "I was just thinking about how my life could have gone. If I hadn't been brave enough to carve that message. If you hadn't been there to see it. If I'd gotten on that plane to Romania." "Don't." Dante pulled her close. "Don't think about that. You did carve the message. I did see it. You're here, safe, and you're going to be my wife. That's all that matters." Emma leaned into him, breathing in his familiar scent. "Did you really fall in love with me that first night?" "The moment I saw you trying to ask for help in the bravest, most desperate way possible," Dante confirmed. "I looked at you and thought, this woman is extraordinary. And I've spent every day since then being proved right. I carved 3 letters into a table. That doesn't make me extraordinary." "You survived Marcus Chen," Dante said quietly. "You kept your wits when you had every reason to panic. You trusted me enough to take my hand. You rebuilt yourself from nothing. You're the strongest person I know, Emma. That makes you extraordinary." She kissed him, pouring all her love and gratitude into it. When they broke apart, Dante was smiling. "Come to bed," he said. "Tomorrow we'll start planning the wedding. Tonight, I just want to hold you." So Emma let him lead her to their bed. Let him hold her through the night. Let herself feel safe and loved and cherished. And she thought about SOS. Those 3 letters that had changed everything. She'd carved them asking for rescue. But what she'd found was so much more than that. She'd found freedom. She'd found love. She'd found a partner who saw her strength even when she couldn't see it herself. She'd carved SOS into a table, and a Mafia boss had seen every letter, and it had saved her life in more ways than one.